hope you're enjoying the summit. Welcome to our Day in the Life session, a day in the life of Prime Video and Amazon Studios. We want to give you a real sense of what it's like to work at Amazon and what's important to think about as you prepare to apply for a role here. At any time, you can ask questions in the chat function and engage with Amazonians that are there to answer any of your questions. So I encourage you to use the chat function for that. I'm going to start off by introducing myself, and then we'll ask our panelists to introduce themselves as well. My name is Karen Brewer. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a recruiting manager here at Amazon, and my team and I support the Amazon Studios tech team. So some of our panelists here today, we're super excited to be here. I've been with Amazon for just over 5 years. Always been in recruiting and talent acquisition. I started actually supporting the consumer organization. And now, as I mentioned, I work with Amazon Studios and Prime Video. So just another, benefit of working at Amazon where you have opportunity to move around from org to org. But super happy to be here and welcome you all. Want to turn it over to our panelists so they can introduce themselves. So I'll start with Ben.
Thank you, Karen. My name is Ben Stanbury. My pronouns are he and him. My career is I've worked mainly studios, video game studios. I worked for Electronic Arts for 12 years. I worked at Walt Disney Studios for 7 or 8 years before joining Amazon late 2018. So it's incredible to me that I've been at Amazon for nearly 3 years already. It feels like it could have been 3 weeks. Time flies. So my current role is I'm worldwide head of technology for Amazon Studios. I have a great pleasure of working with Guillaume, who's on the panel here today. So the remit is it's pretty broad. I think we're probably going to talk a little bit about it today, but it's how do we leverage the power of AWS and how do we kind of really think technologically forward about as we build this new studio here in Culver City and around the world. How do we make decisions that are consciously leveraging the power of technology in the most innovative ways?
Thanks, Ben. Let's go to Guillaume and have you introduce yourselves for us.
My name is Guillaume Rojo. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a senior manager of product management at Amazon Studios. I run a team of product managers who build tools and creative workflows for Amazon Studios, as just been mentioned. I have been at Amazon for almost 5 years and has been a journey. I think we're going to chat more about that, but a lot of good stories and anecdotes to share today for those who are interested in Amazon.
Awesome. Thank you, Guillaume. And let's have Tiffany introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Otoya. My pronouns are also she and her. I am a senior business development manager at Prime Video Channels. So for quick context, if you have a Prime membership, you have access to Prime Video and you can add additional channels to your subscription, like Showtime, Stars, etc. So I do business development for those partners, and I started at Amazon in the retail org, but I have always worked in content and production, so quickly transitioned to Prime Video.
Awesome. Well, thank you and welcome to our panel. Let's dive in. We're going to get started with a few topics, but the first is I'd like to ask our panelists just to tell us what's it like a day in your life in your role at Amazon. So we'll start with Tiffany for this one.
So in the current work from home COVID environment, I start my day off by making coffee and walking my dog. I'm an avid coffee drinker. I live in Seattle, so it makes sense. And then I block out a good portion of my day with what I need to do for the day. So I essentially like agenda my day by blocking out my calendar. I'm in like 3 to 4 hours of meetings per day. So I will sort of pivot from partner meetings with the partners that I manage or internal meetings to help make sure that we are growing these businesses internally. And then as well as just blocking off time to answer email or work on a doc or and then I usually break away for 30 minutes to an hour to Peloton. But that essentially is my day.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. And Ben, tell us about a typical day in the life of your role.
Well, every day starts somewhat the same for me. I have a regular standing meeting with a couple of key employees, which are Luna and Finn, my 2 dogs. In case anybody's not aware, Amazon is a very dog-friendly company. Any of the Amazon-owned properties, most of them are dog-friendly, so you can't see it, but just behind me in the corner are their dog beds. So what does my day start like? Most important thing for me is kind of getting the lay of the land, looking at my calendar, getting on top of email, making sure that all of the meetings that I'm scheduled to be in are going to really effective use of my time. And as the rest of the day unfolds, it's kind of being really, really conscious about short, medium, and long-term objectives, making sure that we're getting kind of clear feedback from our customers. Our technology initiatives are really, really broad. They're everything from technology support, innovation programs that are really, really exciting, and building some really innovative software solutions that Guillaume is leading a number of those initiatives for us. So also, as Tiffany mentioned, I have a Peloton bike. It has, I think, a pile of clothes piled on it now, so I need to start to use that a little bit more often. I really do try and take time out during the day to get out of my office. This is like a fishbowl in here, so I really, really make sure that I'm kind of spending some time away from my computer. But it's really important to me to spend that time speaking with the team, speaking with the customers, kind of making sure that I'm taking time out to kind of think strategically about the work that we're doing. But I think really importantly, kind of at the end of the day, is kind of drawing a line, kind of differentiating a little bit between, what is the end of my workday? As Tiffany mentioned, for a long time, many of us have been working from home, and it's easy for work to kind of never end. So I'm pretty conscious about making sure that I wrap my day up, and that if I do need to work into the night, I'm really, really conscious about the value and the importance of doc writing or doc reviews or whatever it may be. I would say that's a typical day for me.
Great. Thanks, Ben. Guillaume, let's have you tell us about a typical day in your role.
So I really like starting my morning by working out. Boot camp, yoga class, or also a Peloton. I also have a Peloton next to me. Then I'm typically in charge of preparing breakfast for my family. I'm an early morning bird, and then I'm the guy who is responsible for breakfast. I typically also like spending some quality time before starting my meetings on checking if there's any urgent email to reply, also planning the day ahead of me. Typically in the morning, I start my day by syncing with my team, my reports, and my key stakeholders. Since right now we're in remote, I want to make sure that we have opportunity to catch up if there's any pressing issue that requires my input or I can be helpful with. A typical day has 4 to 5 hours a day of weekly meetings with review either new products we want to launch, or we review the status of projects that are currently in implementation. But I always try to spend at least 50% of the time chatting with customers, understanding what are the pain points and how our products can really help them. As a manager, I also spend a lot of time on both recruiting, making sure that we recruit the best talent available, like you today, and also spending good quality time with my team to grow their careers. So sometimes we review documents, sometimes we discuss about what are the next projects they want to take on, but always with the lens of how we can deliver value to the customers. Finally, for me, it's super important. I like blocking at least 2 hours a day. I call it think time. I really understand what are the product challenges that we face, and I spend most of this time basically writing docs, recommendations. Uh, as you know, at Amazon, we really like writing and working backwards from customers when writing their recommendations. So I typically spend 2 hours of my time on thinking time. As Ben mentioned, for me, it's very important that I wrap up my day. I typically like going for a walk at the end of the day. With my wife, we like enjoying outdoors, and we go either bike riding or we go for a short walk before we cook the dinner.
Thank you so much for all of your sharing of what a typical day is like for you. As you can hear, depending on the role, life is somewhat similar. We, especially being in a remote, virtual, still in the work from home status, it's really important to set time aside in your day to do the things you need to do, and then with your personal life as well as your professional. So thank you all for sharing that. The next topic that I want to ask and talk a little bit about is, what made you choose Amazon and the role that you're in now? So I'm going to start off with Tiffany on this one, and then we'll go to Guillaume. But really just want to kind of know what brought you to Amazon.
Sure. So I joined Amazon as a part of an MBA recruiting cycle. So I graduated from NYU Stern in New York and was recruited for the Retail Leadership Development Program. So I started at Amazon within the retail org as a senior vendor manager in the camera category. And I had come from a production creative background, so this was sort of just like an exciting way to break into tech. And I'm really glad that I started out in retail, because it's obviously our core business. It's a good way to learn why Amazon thinks the way they do and what our processes and standards are. So I lived in the retail org for about a year, and then having come from a production background, was obviously really interested in joining Prime Video. Had the opportunity, as anyone who works at Amazon, I copy chatted a bunch of people across all the different verticals, SVOD, channels, TVOD, and ultimately found a role on channels that I was super excited about. And so now I sit on the channels.
Awesome. Guillaume, how about you? What brought you to Amazon and the role that you're in?
So since I was a kid, I've been always passionate about technology. I started my career working in consulting, focused on tech and media, but I always thought I was not involved enough in creating and building new products. So I decided I want to make a career transition. And after many coffee chats and chatting with a lot of Amazon employees, I found an amazing opportunity in Prime Video to help really grow and build the service worldwide. So I started in a very small team with this idea that we want to launch Prime Video internationally, but quickly this team grew over and over. And with that came a lot of opportunities. I work in a variety of opportunities, from launching local payments in Brazil, launching in Arabic with a right to left experience. I launched Prime in Australia. So through this team, I traveled more than 15 countries and launched multiple projects. Recently, I wanted to be more involved in Amazon Studios. A few months back, I transitioned to Amazon Studios team with working with Ben. And right now, I oversee this portfolio of tools that really want to reinvent how we deliver content for our Amazon Prime Video customers. So we're trying to really disrupt the way how things done in Hollywood by building new technology that really maximizes the creative talent, and helping our Amazon employees and partners and vendors to really build the best Amazon originals for the Prime Video customers.
That's great. It sounds like a lot of innovation opportunity brought our panelists to their current roles, which is in line with Amazon, our culture, and it's super exciting to hear that. I want to ask the panelists, what keeps you excited and motivated every day? You know, we, especially over the past year and a half, and then, you know, just working from home. And, you know, we've talked about what a typical day looks like. How do you stay excited and motivated? Guillaume, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Ben, and then we'll touch in with Tiffany.
So Amazon Studios and Studios Technology team, both are really relatively young organizations. So we are really building tools from scratch. As we say it at Amazon, it's day one. And it really motivates me. It's having really this ability to really influence and building tools from scratch and really innovating with the most talented people in the industry on what should be the next generation of tools for the creation of content. Really what motivates me, it's this cross-disciplinary team that we assemble with industry specialists, product managers, engineers, UX designers, all together working to really reinvent how we create content for our customers.
I would say, you know, Amazon does an incredible job of hiring great talent. And it, you know, really focuses on all of these facets of you know, potential employees. So it definitely manifests itself in the day-to-day life of us as Amazons. Is we get to work with just incredible people, and I think that's, you know, that's the key to, you know, many of our successes. As Jim mentioned, day one, it's always day one at Amazon. What does that mean? It's hard to comprehend until you are here working at the company, but the startup culture is real. We work for a 1.3 million employee startup. Every day is, you know, we're never working fast enough. We have all these great ambitions, and we want to build faster, deliver more rapidly. And for me, I think one of the things that keeps me really excited is, and it's very, very challenging, is the teams that we are out, the production teams, our post teams, our other studio teams, they desperately need the tools to operate more efficiently. So anything that we can do to help that, there's immediate feedback. We can very, very quickly see that we're contributing to all of the incredible stuff that's going on. And one thing that I kind of enjoy from time to time in conversations with fellow employees is the way that people describe themselves, even though we've kind of spoken about our kind of formal business titles today, but very often people kind of describe themselves as problem solvers. And that really resonates with me. We've got all of these great problems to solve that are going to kind of untap the opportunity that's ahead of us for this line of business. So yeah, every day is different. Every day presents new challenges, and I love it.
Exactly. Tiffany?
Yeah, for sure. I'll piggyback on that. We definitely are the world's largest startup. Similarly, I think what's really exciting about working at Amazon is the amount, and it's one of our leadership principles, of ownership that you get. You get a ton of ownership in your role, no matter what role you're in, which I think there's obviously pluses and minuses to everything, and there's pluses and minuses to that too. But the benefit is that it's super easy to be really excited about what you're doing because you control a lot of the outcome. It's like you're really motivated to make things better because you own a lot of your business, whatever that business may be. So that for sure, I think, is exciting. And then the other sort of two things that get me excited about work and motivated is the industry I work in. I obviously love entertainment. I've been in it my entire life. And in my particular role, I get to see really entertainment from a bird's eye view, not just Prime Video, but what our partners are doing. So that's super exciting. And then my manager for sure gets me excited. I'm really lucky, and I think this has been mentioned already, but like I work with a lot of really smart, great people, and my manager being one of those people. So I learn a lot from him, which is awesome. He's also very passionate about this industry. So it's exciting to work for someone that I learn a lot from, but that I can also like talk about the latest TV show I've been watching with. So I think all those things combined make me excited to work every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I will piggyback on top of that. It amazes me, when I'm meeting with clients or my stakeholders, just how smart and problem solving, being an Amazonian is. So thank you all for sharing that. When you told us a little bit about your roles, there's tech and non-tech, and what I really want to kind of dive into just on this next question is, how do you work across tech, or if you're non-tech, and work with those different types of stakeholders in your role? Tiffany, maybe we'll start with you on this one.
For sure. Yeah, so in my role, I work with both tech and non-tech stakeholders, mainly I would say non-tech, but one of the channels I manage is Paramount Plus, and Paramount Plus is an evolving service. And so as a result of that, I get the opportunity to work with a lot of our tech teams. When we launch new linear content, like they just launched UEFA about a year ago, like I work with all of our linear tech teams to make sure we are scaled appropriately to be able to support that. Or where they have a new feature we'd like to enable, et cetera. So it's, I think, cool because Amazon does give you the opportunity to work with both. Like I get to experience, I'm not a product manager, I'm not an engineer, but I've worked with product and engineers, which I think is exciting and cool to understand what they do. And then on the flip side of that, I work with a lot of non-tech stakeholders like marketing and merchandising, just to make sure we're surfacing content to customers and what's the new big title we want to lean into, et cetera.
Great. Guillaume, what about you on this one, working across tech and non-tech?
So my role as a product manager, I need to work with both tech and non-tech stakeholders. I mean, from product inception, I need to engage with my customers to gather requirements, understand what are the problems we're trying to solve. Also engineers to understand how complex or how feasible is to solve that problem. Once we really understand that complexity and the problem, we really need to really think about, we have all this portfolio of opportunities, which is the one that we want to prioritize, which is the one going to help the customers the most. We typically, to do that process, we sat with the software development manager, with the senior engineers, where we do detailed scoping, technical designs. Once we have that, we typically engage very closely with customers to ensure that the way we understood about the problem really meets their needs or really exceeds their expectations. What we call building a minimum lovable product. It needs to be loved by our customers. But I have to say that I spend 50-50%, even sometimes 60-40, depends on the type of project. I really especially like working this hat where I can engage with customers and then go talk to engineers to build these amazing products or trying to reinvent the way we do things in studios and Prime Video. I have to say that even once after we launch, for me, it's very important that we make sure that do they exceed the expectations? What are the next features that we need to build together? So I really always keep a very close relationship with both customers and engineers to understand what's coming next, how we can really exceed further expectations from our customers. And of course, once the product is launched and adopted, it's time to celebrate. I like hanging out with my engineers, my customers, and celebrating that we accomplish a new product or new milestone in our roadmaps.
Awesome. Thank you all for that. And I do want to just take a second to remind everyone, if you have questions, please add your questions into the chat. We do have a team of our Amazonians standing by ready to answer those questions. So just want to encourage that. This next question I'm going to direct to the full panel on thinking back on your interview process. What stood out for you the most? And I'm going to start with Ben on this one, but I really just want us to talk a little bit about the interview process and really what was memorable for you.
It's every Amazonian has a very kind of clear memory of their loop process. It's it's no small undertaking, and I just encourage any of you that are thinking about coming in and joining Amazon, please, there's plenty of material online, either on the Amazon Hire website or elsewhere, about the structure of the loop. What is the Amazon loop? It's our description of our very methodical data-driven interview process. So the things that stood out for me, all of my interviewers were kind of looking down and typing during the session, and obviously you kind of get the hang of that as the day goes on. If you are lucky or unlucky enough to have all of your sessions in one day, it can be a lot, depending on how many loop sessions you've got. So it definitely can be mentally exhausting. Just kind of prepare yourself for this. You know, I think understanding the leadership principles and the role that leadership principles play in the culture at Amazon. I think you probably hear this a lot, but you know, many companies have these statements about how they want the company to be, or how they want their employees to behave. Amazon definitely does things differently. These leadership principles are a part of day-to-day life. So I would encourage everybody, and I didn't understand this at the time of my loop, but going to really reflect on how these are really should be just behaviors in terms of how you are as an employee, as a professional. And then the other thing that kind of jumps out to me from that experience was what I learned from the interviewers. It definitely helped me to make a more informed decision about whether Amazon was going to be a good place for me to move next in my career. So do your homework, prepare. It's going to be tiring, but it's actually it's fun.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Guillaume, what about your interview experience?
Well, I want to really re-emphasize what Ben said. It was an exhausting day. I saw that day that I was joining a team of very talented individuals that we're going to make, build the next big product. But it was an exhausting day. I really remember that the importance of the leadership principles, and I quickly realized that those are not things that throw into an investor relationship or website, that really people really use those to make decisions in day to day. It's the way they speak, the way they think. So I strongly encourage all those that are interested at Amazon, really get familiar with the culture, the way we make our decisions, and how the Amazon leadership principles have been the guiding principles to really build that startup culture in Amazon.
Yeah, thanks, Guillaume. And Tiffany, what about your interview experience?
Early, I will not lie, it was hard. It's not an easy experience. It's probably one of the harder interviews I've ever had. And it feels a little bit, especially if you're doing a full day loop back to back, which I think since we're not in person probably isn't happening right now, but usually happens. It will feel like you're being pressure tested, and it's an exhausting day. Which, having done a bunch of interviews here as an interviewer now, I think that's an accurate depiction. But I will say, I think it's pretty awesome that we have a really thoughtful and well-designed way of interviewing. Like, I've worked in other places where you really just ask people questions and you're like, oh, yeah, that's cool, I guess. It's much more up to the individual interviewer. Like at Amazon, there is a structure. We have a structure for how we interview. We are looking to make sure that you have, that you meet the bar for certain leadership principles. You can prepare for it as a result, I think. And I think all of us have said this now, and I swear no one told us all to say this, our leadership principles are not a joke. They absolutely come up in meetings every day. People talk about being customer obsessed and inventing and simplifying and diving deep. And those are really what we hire for. That is the bar that we're hiring for. So for sure, the best advice I give to people is if you're prepping for an Amazon interview, learn those principles. Make sure you have stories that show that you can, accurately do them, or that you emphasize certain ones, or whatever it is, because that really is at the core of who we are as a company.
Yeah. Thank you all for sharing. I agree, especially in the role I'm in. There there are a lot of tools that recruiters and recruiting go through to help prepare candidates, but for the interview process. But I also encourage everyone to do your research, and there's a lot of information on Amazon.jobs and just out there on interviewing. So so definitely take advantage of those. The next question I want to ask is, for the role you're in, what's the most important thing a new candidate should know as they're interviewing for the position? Let's start with Tiffany on this one, and then we'll go to Guillaume.
For sure. So for my role, given that I work with a lot of external partners throughout the entertainment industry, by PBS, et cetera, AMC, et cetera, it's really important for our team that you understand the industry landscape. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you've worked in it, but that you have an understanding. You obviously read about it, you're passionate about it, you understand like what might be changing about it, and have a perspective on that, and have a perspective on where you think Prime Video channels and Prime Video sort of play into that, and what, point out our failures. Like, what do you think isn't working? What would you do better? Like, we want to know that you have an opinion and what you'd want to fix and how you would do it, essentially.
Great. Guillaume?
So when I interview candidates, and I always look for two things. First one is the ability to really break down complex problems into multiple pieces or milestones. I look for candidates who are really able to deliver gradual value to the customers when building products. And basically those that are able to identify what are the critical elements that we must build in order to really build a lovable product versus things that are nice to have. The second thing for me, it's very relevant. It's always justifying all your decisions based on data. I think that there's a lot of data out there, and I look for those people that are able to really, really use that data to make their decisions and to build a framework for prioritization. So those are the two skills that are relevant for me for product managers.
Yeah, great, thank you. All right, let's bust some myths now. I'm going to start with Ben on this one, but what's one thing that you see candidates do for your roles, either in the interview process or on their resume, that impacts their candidacy?
So I think I'm going to kind of follow on a little bit from Guillaume's answer here, but I'll kind of preface it first. So Amazon is a technology company, innovating, growing every day. But as you kind of learn our leadership principles, it is a lot about the humans, the employees, earning trust, demonstrating accountability. So a lot of the things that we do at Amazon are about efficiency, and this definitely is something that we look for in the Loop. As Guillaume kind of suggested, as Amazonians, we love data. We thrive and grow from the data that we derive and depend on, and we really depend on conciseness. In the Loop process, I think successful candidates, one common trait that I see is that they take the time to fully understand the question that's being asked of them, and they provide a well thought through, concise response. If your interviewer needs more information, they're going to ask follow-up questions. So I think that thought process is something that I see as that it is, for me, it's either a really big green flag or it's a red flag. Volume of information is not necessarily important to us. Just kind of really take that time up front to make sure that you understand what you're being asked to respond to. And I think that's one of the biggest things that impacts potential candidacy for me.
Yeah, really good feedback. Guillaume, what about you? Anything to add to that?
I think building on top of Ben's answer, I think often candidates talk about all the stuff they have done, but one accomplishment in the interviewer tells more about your approach and the way you have been contributed to the team. So make sure you spend time on explaining how you executed against that accomplishment, how you contributed against that accomplishment, because when you're hiring for a talent, it's the best to really foresee or understand whether this person could be a great fit for the team. So rather than, again, the same message, quality of impact is more important than the quantity of projects or work that you would have delivered.
Yep. Great. Thank you. Just a couple of, I think we've got time for just a couple more. And I do want to encourage everyone, keep your questions coming in the chat. Keep those coming in. But to our panel, what advice would you give to someone interested in moving into a role in your team or your role? Someone who has a non-conventional background even, like what kind of advice would you give? Let's start with Guillaume here.
So I want to start, I think that I want to say that my team is composed or made up of team members with different backgrounds. I have team members who join us from Hollywood with limited technical knowledge, with a lot of Hollywood knowledge. Other people I have computer science engineers who went straight from out of college, or I have solutions architects for closed software. But I think the constant theme here is the desire to work backwards from the customers and launch new products. And to be honest, different backgrounds means that we're approaching problems with different perspectives and different lenses. And the diversity, it's really, really a strength of any team at Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, what about anything to add there?
Yeah, so maybe not specifically my role, but the technology organization, specifically here at the studios, is it's a pretty substantial program at this point. I think we're going to be at about just over 170 employees within the tech program at the end of this calendar year. So that means that across the program, we've got highly specialized software development engineers, we've got product team members, we've got security engineers, we've got communication staff, we've got program managers. There's a really broad array. So when you think studio technology, it's not all coding. There's a really broad spectrum of job families and employment opportunities. So my advice would be, if you're interested in this kind of work that we've been describing, innovation, building software, delivering services and solutions in the context of a film studio, you don't need to be an engineer to be a member of a program like ours. So come and take a look at the opportunities. We actually have a bunch of roles posted right now, constantly looking to hire new team members. And if there isn't something posted, you can talk to a member of the team. There's a bunch of different opportunities, see what's coming up. Our roles are not all in the US, they're global. There's one of the big pushes at Prime Video and Amazon Studios at the moment is our international expansion opportunities. So yeah, just because you don't see a role posted, please do reach out and talk to us.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ben. All right, to wrap up our session, one last question to our panelists. What do you wish you knew when you were interviewing that you know now? And share that with the group. A little bit of inside information, maybe on what you wish you had known prior to interviewing. Let's start with Tiffany on this one.
I think I touched on it earlier, but just like the importance of the leadership principles. It's not a joke. I know, like, at least before I started Amazon, I was like, oh yeah, those principles, like, I'm sure they really care, but like, no, we actually really care about them. So just the importance of knowing them and really understanding what they mean and stuff, I think is really important. And then the other thing I wish I knew, I think, is just like, it is stressful, like interviewing with Amazon and probably any tech company is stressful. And know that just because it feels stressful doesn't mean it's necessarily going bad. Like, if it's if it's a right fit for you, it will also be a right fit for us. So like, don't get so stressed out about it, and try just to be yourself, because ultimately you want to be happy, you want to be the right fit for this role, you know, as much as we want you to be the right fit. So those are the two things I would.
Great. Thank you so much. We are just at time. I want to thank our panel for being here and sharing your experiences with us. I want to thank everyone for tuning in and joining us. I hope you enjoyed the day in the life at Prime Video, Amazon Studios, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the summit, and have a great week.